Okay, I know we're waiting on at least one more person is coming, but we may as well go ahead and get started. We'll do roll with people with ECE members in the room. Let's do name, organization, and I'm gonna start collecting how many years of childcare you have worked, how many years you have worked in the childcare industry. And that includes general child programming, not just like licensed childcare. Give you some minutes to pop quiz, sorry. So
I'm gonna have to do math.
no one's coming back to check your math, I promise. So if you miss a year, yeah, if you miss a year, it's okay. Okay, I'll restate the question. Hello there. Perfect timing. We were claim a seat, please.
Good to see you twice today.
Yeah, we're just about to start our roll call and we're doing name, organization, and then number of years of doing childcare / programming professionally.
Coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is gonna be big.
Wow. I'll be collecting it from email for everybody too, just because I'm remembering that first meeting where everyone did like breaking it down but I just want, give me the numbers. So
And don't forget that you got to talk into the mic for it to be recorded and for Steve to hear you.
yes.
And Steve and Glow and everybody else.
And
Charlotte, yes.
Alrighty, we'll start in the room. I'll kick us off. I'm Chelsea Tremblay. I'm chair of the ECE task force. And I have to say, I think cumulatively like 1 year professional, including all the camps I've done. So I'm here as facilitator, not expert. So I get 1 year. Okay, on to you.
Hi, I'm Becky Churland. I'm from Petersburg Medical Center. I got that right this time. And community wellness specialist, Petersburg Little League, Devil Sum shooter, middle school cheer coach. I don't know what else. I coached Callie when she was a kid, if that tells you how long ago it was. I'm gonna say probably about 20 years with the coaching and volunteer with kids things.
I'm Callie Caples. I am the owner and administrator of Midcoff Monsters Childcare. I've been working with kids, I want to say, going on year 10. I started when I was about 13 at PCC and never stopped.
Yep, Katie.
Katie Homeland, Youth Program Coordinator for Petersburg Medical Center and co-founder of Kinderskog. I'm gonna say 22 years, I think. I started doing APE, adaptive PE, when I was in middle school and coaching softball, t-ball, baseball, kickball. Kickball was fun. God, we should coach that here. So yeah, probably 22 years.
I'm Rachel Etcher, school counselor at the elementary school. And I am guessing between 22, 24 years if you add it up, and with a lot of coaching, running programs. I did a summer camp, or several different summer camps. Yeah, and then all my years were actually working in the education system.
Scott Newman, I'm on the Petersburg Assembly. I don't have any years in childhood education, but my superpower is I have 4 kids.
Yeah, child raising there.
I had to make an executive decision of like, I don't know if I could. Anyway, I had to ask if that was gonna be part of my equation. So if you want to retroactively add that, if you feel like 4 is a brood, that's a mini childcare for sure. Alrighty, Jeff.
Jeff Nucci, Borough Assembly. I've raised 2 children in this town with my wife, but this task force is something we've been talking about since the pandemic went through town, and I realized how important childcare was in a community to keep the workforce out there. And I'm committed to doing what we can to stabilize things.
Alrighty, hopping over to Zoom. Steve?
Well, good evening, everyone. Let's see. About 9 years between Boy Scouts and coaching, and then raised 3 of my own. Worked with my wife to raise 3 of my own.
Glo or Charlotte, whichever one, or both, you can. take
Hi,
turns.
everybody. Glow here. Actually, my formal training was in education, so I taught in Idaho for a couple of years. Lots of Sunday school, lots of those kind of volunteer programs. So a few years, just a few years, and I got a couple of rugrats in the background. So
Glad they can join us, Glo.
Glow, I was
Charlotte?
just telling my son to leave the room because he's being too loud, so I hear you on Rugrats in the background. I'm Charlotte Mamoy. I'm the executive director of the Petersburg Children's Center. I was on the board when Lala was a baby, and I then transitioned from being the president of the board to the executive director. So I think I've accumulated about 7 years of working with kids. And I don't plan to stop. So thanks for asking.
It's good news though. You don't
Yeah,
plan to
yeah.
stop.
Yeah, no. Okay, thank you everyone for roll call. We had minutes from the notes of the last 2 meetings. You can check those out on the agenda. We do our best to summarize our meetings in an hour. As we know, we tend to have a lot of conversations. So if you ever feel like a big thing that we were talking about was missing or something, like we can find a way to make sure it gets entered into record, and we do keep more notes than we tend to be able to share. So our agenda is pretty basic, but if anyone has anything bigger that they wanted to add, now's the time. We're just here to stay mission oriented. Cool.
I'd like to just make sure we have a roadmap, or I have a roadmap of where we're going with this recommendation.
Yeah, that's part of the discussion and
Okay.
voting on the, yeah. Persons to be heard related to the agenda. There are no members in the seated public, but Member Newman is here. Do you have any major thoughts as you've been thinking about this meeting or the presentation on Monday?
Yeah, the presentation on Monday, this is something that's kind of near and dear to me. I mean, I was born here, and, I was left home alone from the time I was just a little kid. And so, I see the value of early childhood education. And I agree with everything I heard in the presentation. We're like front loading our society, basically. I mean, we need to take care of our little kids so that they're emotionally balanced moving forward and become productive people in our society. And that's a great thing. And that's something I can fully support. Hopefully we can convince the public of this. I think that's public awareness is probably a good part of what we need to try to do. And that's our job as assembly members, to talk about things and get things to move forward. So.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, moving on to the discussing and voting on the education incentive program. So this is something that was presented to a work session of the assembly in February, I believe. It's when we had that initial work session of this past winter, right?
I'm in the early spring.
Right?
No, I think
It
it was
was
March or
March,
April even.
February.
It was snowy, so
was that
maybe
snow.
March.
Yeah.
And it was also pre-big budget season. So it was early enough in the cycle that it was what helped funding for this task force be included in the standard budget cycle. So we have all had this in our hearts and minds for a while now. But I guess let's talk about it as if somebody's listening to this meeting and is coming to it brand new and fresh. So this is a program, and also I'm not really the expert, but I'm chairing, but I'm just going to talk about this. Someone interject if I misspeak or all of that. The goal of this program is to incentivize the childcare employees in town to pursue further training and to be financially compensated for that work. And so that would also increase retention, which, as the very helpful numbers put together by the Share Coalition noted, we have a huge issue with that in town and that affects all the kids. So 80%, 81%
When we did it.
retention turnover rate. Yeah. So how, hey, let's try to work that down.
That was in 2 years, so.
Yeah, 81% in a 2-year time span. Thank you, Becky. So this would be, we'd have 3 tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The numbers are all in front of us. I don't know if it's worthwhile to get anyway. So we have the bones in front of us. How are people feeling with the bones of this program after the presentation on Monday? Did it change anything about how you have thought about it, or?
I'm gonna say it didn't change anything on my end of, on this program, but looking further into the other program that he was talking about. But for this, I think this is still something that we should pursue locally. It's definitely more, I mean, it's still not a huge amount of money that they're gonna receive, but it's at least something to show we're thankful for continuing to do quality care for our children. My children aren't in there, but I say our children because it's our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Callie, you had mentioned at the Monday meeting, having employees excited about this. Do you mind sharing a little more about what, cause this is who it's for, right? And so
Pretty much.
tell us about what their thoughts are on this and your thoughts on it.
So when I started Midcoff Monsters, I came up, or I guess I kind of adopted Mike Lynn's incentive, where if you come to work for me and you graduated high school, you have your, your high school diploma, whatever, we will pay for you to go and get your CDA. We'll pay for it full time. We'll pay for your trainings, your entire class list, your books, anything you need. So I have employees right now. Some of them are pretty new. All of them are over 21. But they are looking to get their CDAs. It's been kind of hectic with everything going on, so we haven't started it yet. But also working with, I want to say Thread just came out with a new quality incentive where it goes through Pro Solutions training, and they give us a free year of training for that also can fall under the CDA training, if that makes sense. So there's different trainings when it comes to CDA based. It's like family connections, this, and this. And then there's other, trainings required, like health and safety basics, the mandated reporter and stuff like that. So I guess we're just kind of ready to get on going with trainings and get more people their CDAs. With your CDAs, you can be a CCA, which means that I can leave the building and everyone else can stay and everyone's okay. So it's quite nice to have, as many CDAs under your belt as you can. Get people sick or anything like that, because you have
I'll
to have
second
them.
that too, because we need 1 CCA for every 30 kids as well. So it's capacity building, which would be nice. And yeah, takes the pressure off of us.
Yeah.
Because that's
actually-
the kind of thing that
Right.
can shut down a facility, right? Like if you
Absolutely.
can't be in the building.
I didn't
for
have
your
another
I-
CCA and
I
I wasn't
went-
in the building. We
Yeah.
couldn't run.
Yeah.
I went 2 years straight through COVID where I was the only person allowed to keep the doors open. So
No pressure.
not at all.
Could you
Not at
imagine?
all. My staff is also very excited about this, and we're hoping to get a good answer here soon from our assembly, because we're having our strategic planning during winter break. And part of it is professional growth. And I mean, I've also been I've wanted my master's for a while. Trying to actually lock down what program I want to do is another question, but looking at where they want to be going, and this would help that for sure. Because they want the college route, so, which I appreciate.
I mean, as soon as you get that CDA under your belt, you can go anywhere where you want, no matter what. Like today I decided to do my bachelor's in, family relations, and then it's majors in administrative work. So after you get your CDA, you can go wherever you want to. It
But we
counts.
don't want them to leave.
Well, no, but it counts towards those credits.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really nice.
So yeah,
I have a
so-
question.
Yes.
So I would like to ask Kelly, I'm not too familiar with, do you have a requirement, or do you have have your employees put a little skin in the game, like they will promise to stay with you for 2 years or 5 years or something on that order?
Yeah, Glow. So if they go in and want to do the CDA, they'll have to go in and finish it. And if they don't finish, they will have to reimburse me since I'm paying for the program.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I like that. I like everybody having a little skin in the game so that, you know, free programs sometimes are treated more poorly than if you require, you know, a little bit of, again, you overuse that term, skin in the game.
Right.
Is this an okay time to bring up a concern?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
And he mentioned on Monday, it was mentioned, but the twice a year payment and like making that plan for taxes, he mentioned that that was, you know, an issue for some people. Is there anything that we can do to like support that better? Like, I mean, what, are we using the same, what was it, AYEC that was making their payments? Or is it gonna be straight from the borough that will?
So that's on the second page
Sorry.
kind of covers that. And this is
Okay.
exactly like, because you're moving us right where we need to go. We're
Okay.
hyped. Now we're into the administrative
Yeah.
process of how it would work.
Okay.
So Petersburg Medical Center will administer the program. So they'll be the administrative home. But you are correct, like that tax issue, it would be an issue. But to me, some of that is just about communication that folks are, you know, if a little thing comes with the check or with, like, there will be paperwork involved. And if people are given notice that, hey, this counts as this kind of income, so please plan accordingly. Hopefully that would be enough. I know we're not all the best when it comes to finances and taxes and stuff, but I feel like that's like that pre-notice is about as much as we can do, because I don't think that we could do anything else about. It will be a 1099, it will be a bonus,
Yes,
it will be, so
yeah.
all that stuff, I'm not sure what we
Is
could
the
do to
2
mitigate.
times a year, was that decided for a particular reason? Is because the Hearts program in Juneau had done it that way? Or is it, you know, like would 4 times a year help? I don't know.
I think it was the 2 times a year when Jody and I were editing all of this. It was because we had that 6 month, you have to be working with us. Oh, it's up here. And so that gave those folks that just missed the window a chance to get a payment still in that year, essentially.
I think ease of administrative process, because this is very, this is meant to be a 1-year pilot program of this. And so making it an easy thing for PMC to do on behalf of this group is a great, so we don't need to be like every month, like X, Y, Z got their paperwork in last month and ABC is coming in this month. Like, I think the 6 months is easier to track. And then that also would, so say it were approved in December, it would mean the first disbursements would go in June. And so that gives 6 months of hype for employees to get enrolled in the program, because I was struck by the fact that 30% of Juneau's staff that qualified were enrolled in this, right? That's what, anyone else notice that graph? It was one of the, so I feel like we could do better. Let's make it a competition. So I want to see 80% of eligible staff like getting at their training and
So
doing
is this
that.
$40,000, the rough cost, is that what it'll cost if all staff?
All staff
all
staff.
staff.
in all
Kinda
3
like penciled it
facilities.
out with who was at each tier.
Yeah.
At one of our,
Actually, it was more than all 3, I mean, because we included Good Beginnings, but now Katie took Kinderskog under the hospital, but it included Good Beginnings. And I mean, it could even go anybody that's providing, you
Yeah.
know, childcare.
but we
Licensed
kind of like
childcare.
penciled it out how many went to each of these 3 tiers and try to figure it out. But there has been turnover since then as well. So
So it would be 40,000 would be the absolute max. But then if, say, 30% of eligible people actually got it, it would be much less. And
the bulk of our people are sitting at tier 1 and we have some that don't qualify yet. And then there's a couple on tier 2, if I remember right, and then I was the only tier 3. Which I don't know if that's changed or not yet.
We're treating childcare in Petersburg as just. one
Licensed,
Licensed childcare.
licensed childcare.
organization, Nothing to do with profit, nonprofit.
No.
It's just all childcare, okay.
Which is nice because we do have basically every form represented.
Please say something. If it was for profit, nonprofit, I'd have a problem, so.
I think I would also have a problem.
Yeah.
If that's how we were breaking.
Because it's also the profit, as we talked about on
There's no
Monday,
such
profits in quotations, yeah. It's like, it's a matter, yeah, it's a matter of what kind of paperwork gets filed with the government more than like yeah.
And this funding is going to the worker, not to the program, so.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little different than past discussions we've had about stabilizing programs.
And so, for example, if somebody were to stay within the field but go between facilities, they would still be eligible because it's about the work itself, not necessarily the organization. So
This is funded by borough ARPA funds or is it?
this was from the pool of ARPA fund. And it was designated to $60,000 was designated to this task force overall. This would be the majority of the 40,000 is the bulk of the money, but that's what the program cost. So then that would in theory mean another 20,000 for an unrelated issue that we haven't identified yet because we're not even halfway there, ladies. Doing it. And gents, excuse me.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring up just another concern,
Mhm.
since we drafted this back in January, February. The administration of it being under the hospital now, but also having a childcare facility.
Mhm.
That would be the other thing that is something to kind of take into consideration, because at the time we were more of a neutral party.
Oh,
But I still don't think it's gonna be an issue.
So
We
that's
have the
more-
capacity, but it's just something to bring to the forefront of, it is a it has a licensed facility underneath the.
so you mean in terms of public perception more than actual, like, because they live in different worlds, but for public perception, being worried that it could be seen as supporting themselves versus.
You're saying
Yeah.
that the hospital is putting together a childcare program?
We have Kinderskog under
Okay.
the hospital.
Yeah, okay. So
And I mean, the idea possibly later in life is to not compete, but offer more opportunities for childcare if need be, opening up
as an employee of the hospital? Or just?
as a department of the hospital. I mean, Katie's Kinderskog is under community wellness, which is what Julie and I do in community wellness activities. And I mean, she has Kinderskog, but we're also doing other youth programming more now. Since this, because I mean, luckily our CEO realizes how valuable it is and let us, Julie and I, pursue that. And since then we were gonna open up looking for somebody that could do it, and Katie applied, so Kinderskog moved underneath the hospital.
Prevention is the key.
Yes, prevention.
Um,
That's why I went to the hospital.
yeah, well, very good thank you for bringing that up, because you're right that could be something to an outsider, could see how complicated it is. But I think you kind of answered the question in itself of that, look, this program needs to happen. Somebody has to administer it. The medical center is a public institution that is able to make decisions and is able to facilitate something like this, or a government institution that's able to facilitate this. I guess government, they're in their fuzzy little world, right? And
It's laid out here of a structure, so to follow, it's not like, okay, I'm gonna give all the money to Katie and Kelly's people aren't
Yeah,
gonna get it. I mean, it's
the
laid out.
parameters.
Sorry.
She's coming for you. She's gonna get it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Also, though, I would like to add that it would be something that the auditors would also look at. So.
It would be audited
Yes,
regularly. Yeah.
yes. So it's not something that you can cheat on.
There's, people check our homework.
That's right.
Yeah. Which we love. We love that. And if
Chelsea, I
people
a
have other
question.
suggestions, yeah, please.
And whenever, sorry, I guess I should have formed my question before I said that. Becky, are you speaking in terms of the hospital as in doling out the money, or is that separate from being the governing organization? Or am I thinking of it like in the wrong terms?
Guess I'm not quite sure. It would be the money that the borough, basically the money would siphon through the hospital to administer the program. And we weren't gonna take any administrative fees off of it as well, so the money strictly goes to childcare. And I believe it was myself that was going to do it. So
Right.
like my time would be, the hospital would pay for my time to administer this program using the borough or the ARPA funds. It basically, the 40 grand or whatever the amount would go through the hospital. And then the W-9s or whatever, I think it's the W-9s would all be through the hospital as well.
Oh, okay, I see. When I talked to Blue Scheibler from she's the executive director of AEYC, she said that they are the ones that are the governing organization for the Juno Hearts model. Something about they have an application where people just fill out the application and then they do the paperwork on their end. She said that she would be more than willing to do it for Petersburg as well if we wanted to go down that route. So I guess I don't want to call it an out, but there's another option if the hospital felt conflicted in any way, I guess.
I think that they had charged us, whoa, that's our,
Sorry, I know.
I think they had charged a 7 or a 10% fee, admin fee, if I remember from, was it Brian's presentation, which I mean, that is typical to take part of grant or part of the funding for admin fees, but the hospital was gonna waive it.
I do think the beauty of keeping it local to someone local administering it, whether or not it does end up being Becky, which I would support. She does a great job, obviously. But keeping it local also gives us the opportunity to catch people that haven't yet applied. Like, hey, you know, this is available because somebody's there and keeping track of it and knows who's working where because it's Petersburg. So we can really utilize those
Certify
funds
most of their
then.
people in CPR.
Yeah, we all see Becky for CPR anyway. She can give us our little CPR cert and our little application all in one shot. Okay, perfect.
Like, oh, hey, good to see you at the grocery store. Where's your application
Yeah.
for your?
I haven't applied for that yet.
I think we should keep it local as well, just to keep this issue front and center. The more we make it easy on people, the more they'll forget about it.
Or just one more paperwork to fill out on a website that you never go to in your life. You know, that's easy to lose track of stuff that way.
I do appreciate the thought though, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's always good to keep options open because again, this is a year pilot program. So again, if it gets approved, implemented, 6 months go by, disbursement of this the first disbursement would coincide with our year being up as a group, though I would love to keep hanging out with you guys. So then after that year pilot program, it would be around this time the next year. And so at that point, it does become, we would have to look back at, basically that's where our data comes back in, tracking the turnover, seeing who applied, probably a qualitative survey just to hear from people what their thoughts were, because if 2 people apply and think it's great, but 10 others think it's too annoying and not worth the trouble, then it might be more trouble than it's worth. And so I think that's where people want to know if this is going to stick or not. But our thing is that we don't know because
I think it's
we
also
can't
hard.
know.
I mean, I understand the 1 year we have to do it, but also like the goal of this is to work people up to tier 3. And 1 year, you could. Whew. But so that's the kind of like I mean, we could always ask though too, like, what trainings did you take? Did you enroll in college courses or whatever? Like we could just ask the question, but we won't see that movement through the tiers quite as much in a year.
How long are we assembled as a task force again?
1 year.
From what date?
We started in the summer around June. Probably.
Or we
I
become
see
a
Debbie's
club.
gonna
Debbie,
say
yeah,
yes.
Debbie said yes, we can do whatever we want. Also, this is a formal task force. There is nothing to stop us from just meeting at a coffee shop, and just getting it going, so. Yeah. Because yeah, I think this is the exact kind of thing that is gonna take time. And it is gonna be about the details, but this is the exact group of people that's gonna be, like, you and your employees will be working with Becky to fill out the paperwork. And so if there are issues, you bring it to us, and, you know, or if you're looking for like the right kind of training or programming, Katie's got you, and like, you know, and so it is nice to be having this space to just brainstorm and work through the kinks together. So I'm excited that I'm excited we're at this stage right now, and that we didn't keep pushing it until the full, you know, I don't know why we would have kept pushing it, but in theory we could have. But being together while we're still implementing and getting people going on it is gonna be a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
So are we gonna be looking for another infusion of money at the next budget go around?
In theory, we don't need it because we have the funding for the 1 year that we'll be doing this. I will say the ARPA funding is good until 2024. So if this program is successful, then it would be really nice to have more, just keep, you know, ARPA is a great resource. It's no strings attached community funding. So that's an obvious thing. If we want to keep, basically call it another experimental year, keep it with that, and then use that bridge year to look for more permanent funding, like work with Liz and PEDC. If it's, by that point, the state has the thread, because thread is the money link with childcare in the state, but they're administratively still getting their act together. So maybe by that point, they would have a more direct community resource too. Maybe we in town decide that it's actually a priority and figure out where to fit it in the budget. But by that point, we'll have numbers to be able to bring to the community of here's how many people got further training, here's how many kids they were able to impact that way. So
So we would be asking for more ARPA money
In-
next year.
I'm imagining
Cycle.
because there's gonna be a fire run on ARPA money in fall of 2023. Yeah, so, but I've lost track of how much is left in that fund.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's,
Jody.
yeah. But if I remember correctly, this $40,000 is still kind of a drop in the bucket
Yeah,
of what's
no.
left. So, you know, imagining to mentally pencil out those pennies and keep them aside for that time for another year, I don't think is too much to hope for. But it wouldn't, because at this point, we're already doing this mid-cycle just because of the nature of the program and timing and all of that. And so it doesn't have to be, in my mind, part of the 2023 spring cycle, right? Because it would be ARPA is unrelated to general budget. This whole program is kind of its own thing. What do you think, Debbie?
That's true. I mean, it could always be a supplemental budget type thing if, you know, the money's there and the assembly approves to move it over for this purpose or something like
But
that.
it was nice having it talked about during the last budget cycle so
Mhm.
that the public knows that, you know, the supplemental budgets are stuff that we don't really know about.
Yeah.
But if we know it's coming, it'd be nice to put it in there as a placeholder just so that it's talked about and
I sure agreed, Jeff. I think we should, you know, look at a 5-year plan. Could we forward fund 5 years worth of, you know, after the first year, you'd have a good idea on how much it would actually cost. Could we put $120,000 for the next 5 years?
yeah, because
Something like
eventually
that.
Petersburg's gonna have to, the community's gonna have to pay for this. I mean, right now, this ARPA funds is giving us a little bit of grace to kind of see if we can do it, but eventually we're gonna have to say, yeah, we think this is a great idea. We need to invest in our children.
I would say there is also a world where the state gets back in the game because they've basically frozen their funding for childcare since the 90s, right? So there is a world where they do that too. You know, it's good to dream. But I guess, yeah, but I guess the point of this too is like, because this is the pilot year, we have no idea how much is actually going to be taken in the first year. And so to my mind, it is like, yeah, we'll take the money, but we genuinely don't know if it's gonna be 10 versus 40. And so the goal is 40. We want everybody to be doing their trainings and getting up to date and getting supported for that. It will be, yeah, I guess, what do people think about, I guess this is also kind of the boring bureaucracy stuff that shouldn't, you all just
But
want me to keep working.
realistically, don't,
Want to give them a check,
Like, let's
No.
just do this thing.
but I'm okay to hound anybody we need to.
Yeah, we're the ones like getting in, we're having too much fun with spreadsheets. I'm sorry, somebody was talking.
well, realistically, don't you think it's gonna take at least a year to get the word out and people to go through a little bit and to realize that it is a good thing? And I mean, I really feel like we should get at least a 3-year period to be able to implement, see a little bit of progress at the end of 3 years, maybe. Then you could have some real strong numbers. I don't think we're gonna get a lot of numbers the first year. Maybe we will, but
So I agree. I was thinking the same thing, that you don't really even get great data after a year.
Yeah.
Impact doesn't happen in a year. So, yeah, if it's possible, but I know that's not necessarily what we're voting on now, but
But it's good
we
to,
have the,
it's good to
yeah.
be fleshing it out because this conversation will happen at the bigger level. And so it's good to be getting into it. Can we forward fund from borough level, or because every year it's a balance sheet, every year we get, we pay, we plan for the year ahead.
I would think that the way to do it would be just to request more money out of the ARPA fund to be set aside for the childcare.
And then but that
Yeah.
again
Can I-
ARPA has to be used by 2024.
Has to be spent, right?
I see, yes. Yes.
Chelsea, may I jump in here?
Please.
This is Steve. So the first thing is one assembly cannot tie the hands of a future assembly.
Yeah.
So this assembly cannot budget 5 years out and say, we're gonna set aside money for this program for the next 5 years. That's just not allowed under state law. That does not mean that you can't ask for it in each budget year. And it doesn't have to come from ARPA funds. That's entirely up to the assembly. It can come right out of the general fund, and ARPA funds, can be put into the general fund for any number of reasons. So I think, going back to the original concept, which is 1 year of running the program, seeing what the results are, and then being very upfront with the assembly as we move forward. Here's what worked, here's what didn't, here's what we want to tweak, this is what we think it's going to cost. And then we, whether it's a supplemental budget or whether it's, at the normal budget time where we put it in as a request there in the community services portion of the budget. I think that's the way to go about it. If we try to get 5 years of funding right now, it's not allowed.
So I have a question, sorry. But Brian's presentation had like a two-pronged approach. One was the Hearts program, and then the other one was the $805,000 from the general fund to reduce the childcare cost for families. So at this time, you're just considering just the Hearts program. You don't want to make some type of a presentation where, like Jeff said, this is our society needs to, let's wake up, educate people, and realize that times have changed. Inflation, both parents need to be in the workforce, and the cost of it is just not effective. And so to keep people in the workforce, it's like, our society needs to support our childcare. So do you want to make I would recommend doing something, whether it's
Framework
make a
for it before
presentation
taking
to
it to the assembly, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
argue that one.
That was something that we
But
did discuss
we
in the
did.
share group.
Yep.
But this is what we thought would be the easiest to get through first, but that is definitely something that we
That's the frame,
discussed.
yeah, the framework was fairly easy for this, right?
Well, but now that Juneau's done that, we can look at their model and
You can build on theirs and have
Exactly.
public education through KFSK, the pilot. we need to get the word out there.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely a yes and we do still have 6 months of meeting as a group. So I think figuring out how to refine that would be a great thing for us as a group to do, because I agree that it is, yeah, it's absolutely yes and we need to support the staff, we need to support the families.
Exactly.
Yeah,
When I was running for assembly, that's the one question that I really got a lot was, what are you gonna do to reduce childcare costs for families? That was one of the biggest questions I got.
Yeah.
And,
it's huge.
you
Yeah,
know, so here we are.
yeah.
That was money that was going straight to the facility for each kid. I thought that was in care.
Yeah, but
And then you got
then,
an extra amount if they,
Sorry.
But the effect would be less
it
expensive.
helps stabilize.
Do it that way.
Yeah, it would hopefully help stabilize our program so that we don't have to increase costs.
Through the childcare program office, each month they ask us for a list of all of our kids that go. And then if they were there part-time or full-time days, and they give us, I mean, it's like $600 a month or something for them coming to our facility. So we technically kind of do get paid for the kids to come, but it's nothing like,
that's-
it's nothing over $1,000.
Yeah, but that's how Juno built theirs too. So any child that we have, they get a certain amount for each age group. But then if we have children enrolled in Tlingit HIDA assistance or CCAP, we could get an additional amount of money for those kiddos to help.
Would help not
stabilize.
raise the cost of childcare.
Yes.
Wouldn't help cover
They're
childcare,
un-
but it wouldn't raise the
Yeah.
cost, which is.
And
what
it's
they need to
basically
do.
them saying, yeah, we understand that you are serving lower income families. Here's a little extra to help you continue to serve these lower income families.
I'm going to lovingly pull us back into the agenda of, yes, we will absolutely talk about the subsidy program. Oh yeah, we're having more meetings about that for sure. We have another $20,000 we're gonna have to decide what to do with. Maybe we're gonna pilot that. I don't know. That's not enough money, but
Probably a little bit more because we're
Well-
not gonna spend 40 the first year, I don't think.
see, there we go. Look at us thinking. So getting back to the incentive program. Here about 45 minutes. We're talking through a program we've had on our mental plate for about 10 months. Is it time to do a vote?
So the idea
Or-
here
yeah.
is to vote on this idea
Bring it to you guys at the
and then
assembly.
on the second meeting in December. The assembly would do it as a, action item.
Yep. Okay. To designate the funds to release the funds already designated to the childcare task force for this program. Yeah. But I don't mean to cut off conversation. If there's more we want to work through, I think this is a really great step and start. And I'm also very proud of the amount of work we've done to bring people into the conversation. We've done a lot of forward research or we've tried to have a lot of forward conversations of like, here's what we're thinking. Come listen to us talk about what we want to do. And so don't say this came out of nowhere. We've been sitting on this for 10 months. So yeah,
Actually been sitting on it longer than that because Share Coalition was, I mean, I know our task force has been doing it for that long, but yeah, Share has been chewing on this for a while. So.
yeah.
So we'll be doing some outreach between now and that meeting on the 15th.
Welcome to ideas about what other kind of outreach we could do.
I'm talking about your assembly members.
Yeah.
Not all assembly members are supportive of this.
All I need is a majority vote, Jeff.
Okay. I understand how it works.
Yeah.
I've reached out to the assembly members. I heard back from one. So, yeah, if you got tips, I mean, I know where you sit, but you could surprise me, I suppose. Bribe you with a cheesecake or something. But yeah, if you got other tips to rope the other ones in.
Well, I just think it's good that somebody reach out and chat with the assembly members who aren't here. Just to kind of,
The effort has been made
okay, but.
by some of us
With
anyways.
This idea that we're forward on the 15th meeting, just to see how, if they have any questions, because they're gonna have questions at the assembly meeting. And I think it's good to know what those questions are and do some work with it. And I wouldn't be bashful about spending a few minutes up at the radio station, talking about this. Just getting it out there just for the community to chat about in the next couple of weeks, because some people aren't gonna be for this. And
That's okay.
yeah, that's okay, but I
Doesn't-
think, you know, it's just part of the whole process, how it works.
Whoever's not okay, they can come talk to us about it too.
Yeah,
Change
we-
your mind.
They can shadow us.
I'll
for a
change your
day.
mind.
Yeah.
Anybody who's spent time up at a daycare or childcare, excuse me, understands the need. And if you haven't spent any time up there, you think it's no big deal.
Yeah, anybody willing to come work 7:30 to 5:30, please do.
Hey, it was 8 degrees outside. I will take more people any day.
So, so you might, check with KFSK and the pilot to see if they want to do a story.
Yeah, it's almost like we gave ourselves a couple weeks to
Yep.
work on some
great idea.
communication.
Yep.
Yeah, wow, who'd have thought of that?
Well, to Jeff's point too, how about a little mini presentation at the meeting, the first meeting of December? Just to say, hey, this is coming at you. Any questions or anything that you would be, you know, that just put the assembly on the spot?
Talk about visitors' views unrelated to agenda items and just talk for 5 minutes about what's coming up. in
Is that
2
meeting
weeks.
at noon?
Yeah.
I can never remember which one is noon.
The-
That's
the-
on the.
the
that one?
first
I
meeting
think I
is-
have it on my.
The first meeting of the month is earlier. Second meeting of the month is later.
When you say it like that, it's easy to
Yeah.
remember.
See?
Wait, what day is it?
Yeah,
The
Fifth.
because
first
I
one.
just, I
It's next
worry
week, you
that,
guys.
I worry that a few assembly members will go like, what? Where is this coming from? I'm not gonna vote in support of it because I have questions.
I
We
will
have-
remind us all, I sent an invitation to the assembly to the work session that we had on Monday, and it included this program. It included the news that we'd be hearing from Juneau about their program. I'll be sending the link to the Juneau presentation, so this will have come to them many times as a group.
Some people
Yeah.
don't do
And I-
well with reading though. They
Much
need to
appreciated.
hear
And
it.
that right there is all that really needs to be said. If you get up and say, hey, I'm just once again doing it in a public forum so that everybody on the radio listening audience can hear it. And then they can't use that line. No member can use that line on the second meeting.
Absolutely, yeah.
More public, I feel like the more public support you garner, the more support you're gonna get from the assembly.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I do plan to email my families as well about, this is what we're gonna be pushing forward. Please send your letters. You
Yeah.
know, and-
No,
So the
absolutely.
fifth
And I
one-
don't mean to minimize the need for outreach or that, but just that there will be people who don't like the idea of this in general, full stop. And so you can try to do the hearts and minds for 100% of people, and you are unlikely to get 100%. But I am happy to push that margin at all times, but it will be okay if we hear from someone that personally does not like it. It just happens. But we will always do our best to make our case with as many people as possible. That's our job. And I will be, I sent to the group a Google Doc to add information from the Alaska childcare survey. It was in one of the big emails a long time ago. But I am happy, anyone who wants to work with me on a presentation to the assembly on, sorry, I'm working solo retail life in the holiday season right now. So solo employee. So I'll close the store and come to the meeting on Monday, but
Sign saying, "Head to the meeting."
Yeah. If you want
oh,
kids to
sorry, did you
continue
want
to
to do
read.
Christmas shopping? Absolutely not. It's time for government. Do the same thing, bring your festive cheer to the assembly meeting.
So is the second one though on the 19th?
Yes,
At what
and that's a
time?
6 PM.
6 PM.
Yeah, and so that one would be great to have people come. That's also by Zoom in case that's easier for people. Yeah, so we can let you talk first.
No, I mean like tonight.
Oh, tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's vote. We can talk more, but we can vote now. Okay.
And can we say out loud what we're voting for?
Yeah, so we're voting on, we want to approve the education incentive program and send it to the assembly to be approved for funding as allocated in the 2022 budget cycle. Am I a voting member?
Is that the 22
Yes, you are a voting
Yeah.
member.
Okay, I
Was
vote
it the
yes.
22 budget cycle or is it the 23?
We are, this,
In 23
we
right
were,
now.
we were funded in springtime
Okay,
as a
gotcha.
task force. So we
Gotcha.
have funding set aside for us. We just need the assembly to do yes to release the funds.
But it came from before July 1st. So,
Yes.
okay, gotcha.
Good. Look at you. This is why she's going to be in charge of facilitating funding, paying attention to fiscal years. Okay, so I vote yes. Becky?
Yes.
Callie votes yes.
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 Scott's a visitor. Yeah, yes. Okay, Zoom folks.
I vote yes.
Charlie, yes.
Charlie,
Glow?
Yes, of course.
Woo.
Yes.
How about you, Steve?
Yes.
I think he's voting member too. Yeah, okay. Cool. And then, as I said to people, I would do an email vote opportunity if they weren't able to come to the meeting. So I will do an email thread to those folks and I will include Debbie in it, so she will get their responses as well. As our acknowledgement that childcare can be an issue for people on the childcare task force. So this way they can still participate. But yay, look at us go. Please reach out to me if you want to be part of my pitch
I can
on the
come on
Monday
Monday.
meeting. Cool.
Do you want to
We'll be in touch.
plot and plan?
Yeah,
this
so if you want to
transition?
plot and plan our Monday presentation, I would appreciate the help, as again, it is a busy retail weekend for me and I'm doing it alone. So
I probably will be there, but I gotta look at the work schedule.
it's
first.
also, this is a pre
Mhm.
thing. This is a soft launch. We'll be doing the bigger thing at the later meeting in December. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you
Perfect.
can't make it Monday, that is okay. I'm appreciating everybody's time. The goal with all of this has been to make things better for everybody without burning ourselves out in the process, because we are all busy people doing important work. So don't let this be what drives you into the ground. Any final questions or thoughts or,
In the other program on the next agenda to discuss.
oh, the new year is bringing all kinds of new topics. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Otherwise, hope to see folks at the December 19th assembly meeting. Good. Woo. Thank you, Debbie.